some in Queensland, well, not many, you know, maybe a handful, and they may have been people that have moved up from Melbourne, but Sydney definitely had their own movement. And the same with the larrikins and the bodgies and widgies and sharpies. Melbourne and Sydney argue over who started it first, and they still do sort of a bit now.
Your photo of the young man playing with a dog, he had a t-shirt.
Yeah. So the story behind that was when Rose Tattoo first formed, they came to Melbourne from Sydney via Adelaide, and they came down with two girls, Vicky and Buffy. They were, I think they were Town Hall Sharps, do you think, Vicky and Buffy? Oh no, but they were Sydney Sharpies, and they travelled with Rose Tattoo. And then when they got to Adelaide, I guess one of them may have had the t-shirt made for herself, or maybe they met some Adelaide skins, and then they bought the t-shirt back, and it was gifted to Shark at some stage.
So with the games, was there an organising committee or a leader? I mean, did they form that, or was it just
I think it was often done with like best friends and boyfriends and girlfriends, if that makes sense, because not everyone even had the phone on. So for me to catch up, if you didn't find out what was going on, you'd just meet maybe on a Friday night in the city at Flinders Street, and everyone would be there when sort of work and school finished. But for example, when I first met Westside, I'd talk to my boyfriend and he'd tell me what we were going to be doing, and then he would have been talking to one of his mates, and then I'd tell one of my girlfriends. It was kind of that, the whole grapevine thing, and just somehow everyone would find out. And if we knew something was coming up, like a movie or a concert, we'd be planning it weeks ahead as well. Yeah, it sort of amazes me how we managed to communicate and network so well, because it was so limited. Yeah. Anyone else?
So it was more social than,
it was social.
It was actually social.
Absolutely social. Yeah.
Just your movements, were they dependent on the train system?
Yes.
So what time were the last trains?
I think about 12-ish, was it? 11:30, 12-ish? Yeah, that photo with the policeman where we've got the beer bottles, we caught the tram from Coburg to the city. That photo was taken bang on midnight under the clocks, and then we all went and got the last train back to Box Hill and then to
They
Croydon.
finally have all that trains. It's amazing. Well, at least
You slept at the station a few times. You missed it.
Back then you could though. You could sleep on trains, you'd be safe.
Yeah, it was different.
Especially if you're a sharpie.
But I think it was John Bowie from Thomastown. He said to me, being a sharpie was a dangerous occupation because you couldn't hide where you were. So if you were on your own and then you came across a group of other teenagers who had negative experiences with sharpies, well then they could target you. And some people had their hair cut into a sharpie style, and they may have had, already had some of the fashion or bought some of the fashion, and then their experiences might have been so negative they immediately grew their hair back and never talked about it again. And a lot of people didn't have a positive experience in the sharpies, but there are a lot more that did. There's talks of, I think it was Frankston at one stage, they had over 300 members, so I'm sure there's a small percentage of those that didn't have a great time, but then the rest of them did. Like this, some of the girls in our extended group, they forget about the violence because they just didn't see it. All they saw was music, clothes, good times, drinking, smoking, and nice boys to hang out with.
When did the sharpie movement start sort of fading away, or how did it come to some sort of, when did it stop in some ways?
around about 1980, our sort of group grew out of it. Not long after that, Sharps and Co started, because there were some people that just weren't ready to grow up yet, or they didn't have other things to do for whatever movement. So Sharps and Co started in the early 80s, and then there was a group of kids, mainly homeless kids, I think, hanging around Flinders Street Station, and a couple of the older West Side guys had found themselves single, and they decided to hop on the train and go into town and see what was going on in there. And they ran into these younger kids and they mentored them, and they got some T-shirts made up with West Side. So there was kind of like old West Side and young West Side. And by then, you couldn't buy the cartings anymore. They were either hand-me-downs or pretty much hand-me-downs, and that's when they really started to shrink, and you got that real hyper masculinity, with the short ones. So they called themselves Sharpies, but they had a different code amongst them, from what I understand, and then they sort of, I believe, completely gone by about 1985, but I could be wrong, because by that time, I had a mortgage, I think, so I wasn't going into Flinders Street. So
it's kind of generational.
Yeah.
Generation that sort of flowed through.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for that, Shirley. Why do you think why is this resurgence of interest in Sharpies? What do you think about kind of modern incarnations? Because there's definitely bands around now, like our listeners and the chats who are kind of imitating that style and that personal attitude. What do you think of that?
I'm going to handball that to Sam. Shane, yeah.
Okay. What was the question?
Why do you think there's been a resurgence of interest?
Because it was hidden. It was hidden for so long. Everybody from the outside viewed it from the violence side, and they didn't do it from the diplomacy, the friendship, the intermingling, the ideas that was coming. I mean, you would talk about the Frenchman guys, 300 of them. I was sitting on William station with my girlfriend, the train pulls up, and they were all on that. They said to me, "You're Shane Crowley." So I had Chase got put in the hospital for a while, and while I was in hospital, there was a lot of payback fights and things like that going on during the time. By the time I got out of hospital, they'd arranged it so 2 of their members would come and hang with us for a weekend, and a couple of our members would go hang with them for a weekend. So we actually worked it out diplomatically, and it wasn't all the violence. The violence was there, but it wasn't the main push of us. The main push of us was pay attention to us and listen to us. We young people with lots of ideas. So that was the main thing, and I think it got buried because of the violence and the fear of that. The intermingling and the social aspect on the outside of it was amazing.
Do you think people have that?
And I think because that was buried for so long, it's such a deep and full history, that we buried it underneath the English skinhead, or the American Nazi skinhead and all that kind of thing. It wasn't like that. It wasn't racist, and we weren't apolitical. So I think because of all that interest, people have seen this juicy cake on the side, they've noticed it. They do have a taste of it, they really get into it. And I think something that big, you can't bury it hide, even though they tried to for a long time. The interest is just still there. People are just interested in what people do. We did a lot of amazing things back then. We were basically punks before they were punks. So I think that's why the resurgence, because it is such a glowing hot diamond that people are always
If I could add something to your question, being involved right from the early 60s, especially the start, and my best mates for over 50 years, we've talked about it over the years, and that when I discovered Sharpies on Facebook, because I'm new to the internet and stuff like that, I thought, I was really interested because as it progressed from the mid-60s right through to the 80s. But when you really go back from the start right through to the end of it, it's totally unique for Australia. It really was. We created our own fashion. There's definitely a story there, and like like Melbourne, Sydney and a bit in Adelaide, how it grew. But it's pretty unique what was actually started, and it went from the 70s into the 80s, and they changed it with the hairstyle and the clothing. You know, it progressed. Like some of the stories Julie was saying, I had a bit of a laugh, like, you know, you had a mortgage in the 80s, well, I had a mortgage in the early 70s.
Yeah.
You know, I missed out all that part. But it's created a lot of interest, I think, with, well, I'm 70 next year. You know, and you're reliving your teenage years, all right. And it was violent, but it was different types of violence to what it is today, so a lot of lack of respect today, but and the story needs to be told, and it's part of unique history to Melbourne or to Australia.
The music is good. It's like Is there another question over there?
Yeah, who manufactured the cardigans?
Conti Knitwear in High Street, Thornbury they were the top label, and there was Sam's Knitwear in Coburg as well, and there were other smaller labels like I think it was Stag Knitwear in Port Melbourne, and I think Onyx. So
yeah, Northcote, Onyx, Woodman's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had.
So what made it hard to accept that it's hard to get cardigans?
A lot of the manufacturing got put out of business in Australia, and you can see that's still happening now. And I guess as their machines broke down, and there was acrylic knitwear came into fashion, so people didn't want to spend a lot of money on high quality, fine knit Italian cardigans. So
So the design's Australian, is it? And was the I'm interested to see how they became popular.
Yeah, with the bodgies and the widgies, and one interesting thing when someone was saying is, with it being interested, I said to my mum a little while ago, it was only months ago, Mum, I'd really like to start a bodgies and widgies Facebook page and put some of your photos on there. And Mum said, I said, we might get some other photos. And Mum said, oh, well, no one's going to be interested. We've got 1,100 members. So these are people, probably 75 and over, that have just been waiting for someone to acknowledge their movement, and we're getting the most fantastic photos of widgies with big wide belts with a comb holder on it, and the men wore their belt buckle to the side, and just all little things that we would never have known, and there hasn't. I don't think that there's only been one little bit of crosswords on the site, and my brother started that. But they're polite to each other, and they just reminisce and engage with it as well. But the bodgies did have jumpers and cardigans actually, with 2 stripes. And then I think when the Sharpies kind of took over, they may have kept that cardigan sort of style with the stripes. And when they'd go to the knitwear place, apparently Mr. Conti, who was an Italian immigrant, would make suggestions on how to have it. Well, why don't you have it? Because people were customising them, and it was kind of a bit one-up. So someone would turn up at Iceland, and they might have made a modification. So to a cardigan. So an example of that is, like, Mr. Conti must have suggested doing the half belt at the back, which you can see. But then Steph had a cardigan with a half belt split in 2, and it was here instead. And then some people would have 2 belts on the back, and then there was the tabs and lines
so
around there.
They weren't manufactured for like bulk selling, like they weren't found in shops.
Later on, when the mainstream fashion realised there was money to be made, they were made in bulk, and also, like, I've got a cardigan at home, and it would be one that a Sharpie's little sister would have worn, and they were for sale in places like Waldron's, which is where we used to get our school uniforms from. So Waldron's at Eastland would sell mass-produced cardigans, but a Sharpie fashion snob would know, know what kind of cardigan it was and where it was from. So,
Your brother is sharp?
no, he's one's 5 years younger, so he was just too young, and the other one's 9 years younger. So my brother David, he found his family in the football club.
Your website's called the skins and the shots. Now, the skins obviously the skinheads. Now, were they running in parallel during the 70s or
Probably Sam or Shane is best to answer that one. Skins and sharps.
Well, they're both the same. It's just that the public would see short hair, called skins or skinheads, but we were known as Sharpies, so they had the same tag. So there's no difference between us.
one community?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really there was no difference.
The difference between the two was to do with the Richard Allen books, Skinhead and all those books. They were about a lot of racist attacks and things like that. It was very deep into segregation. And the Australian Sharpies didn't like that, so that's why we drew a very big line between Skinheads and the Sharps. The Sharps were those that accept all nations and all races. The Skinheads wouldn't. So that was a big difference, and we used to get really peeved about being called skinheads.
But it was a smaller group,
They weren't the same.
smaller community.
No, I think a skinhead in Australia is a Sharpie.
Yeah. So because of the short haircut,
We were called the same.
they were called, like, they would identify us as skins.
Oh,
or
okay, I
skinheads.
see what you mean. Okay,
Yeah,
that
but
association
yeah.
with the, okay.
Because it's shaved hair, number one, cut, that's how you're a skinhead. You go,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not racist,
Yeah.
I'm a Sharpie.
Yeah, exactly.
But there was occasions where we would call ourselves skins,
Yeah, occasionally.
but not skinheads.
Yeah.
Because you were acting like a skinhead in some ways, but you didn't have to race it.
Yeah.
And that was a big, big difference for a lot of people that really learned about it when you wanted to call the skinhead.
But the word skinheads in Australia is more a UK thing, was
It's
it?
a UK thing,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Ones came in the late 80s though.
In the late 80s.
We might know that format, mostly in Melbourne.
But I think even in the 70s, they didn't identify skins as the European type.
No.
It was just more the hairstyle.
Yeah.
It was,
I
we
mean, that's,
really didn't have any knowledge.
we became
of that.
skinheads here, but we did it our own way.
Yeah, that
Which was
happened,
not
that happened
our
much
way,
later,
which
and then they sort of cross over, they get confused with our movement to the later movement from Europe.
So that's why quite often a Sharpie say, yeah, I've got a skinhead haircut, you know.
Yeah.
He wasn't claiming to be a skinhead,
Yeah, yeah.
he just had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the young lady here was saying to me today, that is it true that skinheads and Sharpies fought against each other? There's no such thing. You know, so people started, you know, believing these stories or make up these stories. It wasn't, it was the same thing as I explained. So there's a bit of confusion there even today with the younger generation and people that don't really have too much knowledge of our Melbourne movement.
There was a lot of young groups who thought they were skinhead. They got quickly put onto the track that no, you're a sharp.
And we're inclusive.
That's right, yeah. Well, the other nationalities would get around and say, what's this about skinhead? No, we're sharp, we're sharp. Yeah, it would work itself out, yeah. Very quickly.
Okay. Well, thank you, Julie. That was absolutely fabulous. And before we go, I'd just like to acknowledge Sam too. I don't know if Zoe found Sam or Sam found Zoe, but it was fantastic. And none of us would be here if it wasn't for Sam, who's been responsible for this, well, for the two display cases actually, two different sides. But you know, he's been incredibly generous and has introduced us to a new world, for which I'm very grateful. The whole RHSV.
Julie that saw your ad and
Oh, really?
she put it to me and she said, bugger, we missed it. I said, no, let me contact Zoe and see what we can do. Yeah, so
Well, I'm very
it was
glad
really
it
helpful,
happened.
yeah.
So it has been brilliant and has generated a huge amount of interest in the history of Charlotte. So it's been fantastic. So thank you, Julie Mac. Thank you, Sam. Thank you all. And please go and have a